What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Dana White's Contender Series breakdown and predictions for week number 2, and I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to this week. Looking forward for the show to bounce back. I mean, last week we had only 2 contracts given out. With that said, the one bright spot was Bossinger, Susur Kai was able to get the contract and fight, the week of, which has never happened before. So that was awesome. But outside of that, a lot of the fights last week did not deliver. I don't think I've ever seen Dana White that pissed ever. So I expect these fights to be completely different. I expect these fighters to hopefully try, which would be nice. So I'm looking forward to it. Before we get into it all, if you guys could do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're about 900 away from 30K. If we can get that by the end of the year, that would be freaking phenomenal. So subscribe and then leave me a comment. Could be any comment. Could be how's your day going? How's the weekend? Who you liking this week? Just leave me a comment. It does help out a ton with the algorithm. It is very much appreciated. If you want to go the extra mile and get more content and support me more, check out dfsbythenumbers.com. I'm doing a ton of content for UFC in general, but on top of that, just Dana White's Contender Series, the fighter notes, the fight write-ups, the best bet article where I break down the entire card. I give the prediction, the round, the method, the confidence rating, and the best bet for each and every single fight. I do the betting breakdown video as well, and of course, all UFC content is included. So check me out over at dfsbythenumbers.com. And then for this week, I'll be doing the Fight Companion. Last week, I did my first ever Fight Companion for Dana White's Contender Series. Had like 800, 900 people watching. So people, really seem to like that. And I'm going to be doing that again this week as well. So check me out with the Fight Companion. And I'm probably going to do that just the rest of the year. And I'm thinking about even doing that for UFC as well. So, but yeah, a lot going on. But I say we get into it. We have 5 fights to talk about. And it should be 5 good fights. We're going to start with the first fight on the card. And let me pull up my notes, which of course are all out of order. Here we go. All right. We got Ramiro, Jimenez going against Tommy Cuozzi. We will start with Jimenez, who's training out of the goat shed. He's 26 years old, 5'8", with a 74-inch reach. Jimenez is 10-0 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Jimenez. He has an 80% finish rate. Half of those, 50%, come by knockout, and then 30% of those come by submission. So Jimenez has been training at the goat shed, and then he's also been doing some work, it looks like, at the UFC PI. Jimenez looks really sharp on the feet, brings steady pressure, has a long reach, and uses that reach very well. And kind of like the dude we saw last week, Ty, who had the very long reach, he used it very well. Same thing with Jimenez, uses that reach to his advantage, which you love to see. Has a nasty head kick that he throws as well, is able to snap that thing up there. Striking's very sharp. He has a nice step in knee to the body I've seen him land. The volume looks good when he's at range, and he has some highlight real knockouts. You go watch this guy fight, you'll see head kicks, you'll see flying knees. He destroyed somebody with the flying knee. I kind of felt bad for the guy. This dude Jimenez, he's exciting and he's dangerous when the fight is standing. I have seen him taken down, but he does a really good job at getting back up. Was able to get a nasty Kimura in his last fight as well, I believe it was his last fight. And it's nearly impossible to hold this guy down, which is probably going to come into play here. And the grappling looks fine. A lot of guys are trying to take him down. I went and watched every fight I was able to of this guy, and I'm pretty sure like every single dude is trying to take this guy down, and nobody was able to have success. And you can kind of see why guys are trying to constantly take him down. I was really impressed with the striking. I was really impressed with the takedown defense as well. And yeah, Jimenez, he's still young. He's putting in the work. And I think this guy can be pretty good. And the striking is at a pretty high level already. And he's only 26 years old. And he's working with good guys, good bodies. And I think Jimenez is pretty solid. We'll go with Tommy Cuozzi here. He's training out of Kamikaze MMA and Fitness. We got Cuozzi, who is 25 years old, 5'9", with a 71-inch reach. He's undefeated, 8-0, and he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses for Cuozzi. Nobody, absolutely nobody. He's fought just absolute bums. Cuozzi has a 100% finish rate, 62% by knockout, and 38% by submission. By the way, if I'm butchering any of these names, it's been a long weekend, and I wasn't able to practice the names like I usually am. But that's what I have it written down as, Cuozzi, which I don't get it, but hopefully that's correct. So some notes I have on Cuozzi. He's fought just absolutely awful competition. Like, I'm watching this dude's fights, and he's fighting in high school gymnasiums. He's fighting in an office building. It's like, what's going on here? I couldn't believe what I was watching. His last fight, he got this dude's back. He landed a couple ground and pound strikes, and his opponent tapped. His opponent tapped to strikes in less than a minute. It was wild. And the dude that he fought was his toughest test to date. He was somehow 8-4. Now I think he's like 8-8, but he was 8-4 at the time. He's tapping to strikes a couple seconds in. And then another fight I saw, like I said, it was like in an office building, and he won that fight in about a minute as well. And what I will say about Cuozzi is he's very aggressive, and he does look to get the fight to the mat. He does seem to have some solid jiu-jitsu and relentless ground and pound, but it's like, how good is this guy really? Because he's just not facing, anybody. So he is a brown belt in BJJ, and he is a young guy, 25 years old, with an exciting style, but the level of competition seriously worries me. The only time I saw him strike, he would kind of just go out there and swing his stick a little bit, and he's just a wild man. He's a fun and exciting fighter. Like, I think his style's very fun and exciting. I think this fight is going to be a very fun and exciting fight, but it's impossible to know how legit this guy is due to the level of competition probably being some of the worst I've ever seen. Up there with, like, Jordan Wright when he fought those bums in Alaska. I mean, this is, it's very bad. But yeah, he's aggressive. He's in there smiling. He's having fun. It looks like he likes fighting, but this will be his toughest test by a mile in Jimenez. So some final thoughts on this fight. This is the fight that's kicking off the card, which kind of surprises me because this is the fight I'm probably most excited for this fight. I think it's going to be an incredible fight. Cuozzi's a complete unknown to me. He's fighting in high school gyms and fighting some of the worst competition I've ever seen in my entire life. He is dangerous though, and he's looking to grapple, and he will be looking to grapple here. But I'm not sure he's going to be able to have a ton of success against Jimenez, who is a competent grappler and who's very, very hard to take down. I see Jimenez getting the knockout here. I have a feeling it's going to be just like massive levels difference when the fight is on the feet. And I do think when the fight is on the feet, it's going to be fun. It's going to be electric. It's going to be exciting. And if Cuozzi can't take him down, get the takedowns, and get the early finish, I kind of think he's screwed here. So give me Jimenez to win this fight, and give me Jimenez to win this fight by second round knockout. So I'm going to have to fire my graphics guy. I'll have to give him a call after the show. So Jimenez is actually minus 370. Not plus 3. So I'll give him a call. I'm going to have to fire him, or at least just yell at him, because it's unacceptable. It's week after week with this stupid-ass graphics guy. But yeah, Jimenez, he's minus 370, and Cuozzi is plus 295 there. We'll move on to the next fight, and it is going to be a heavyweight fight. And we have Hokit going against Guilherme Uriel. Okay, we got Uriel. Hokit versus Uriel. We'll start with Josh Hokit. He's training at a Jackson Wink MMA Academy. He's 27 years old. He's 6'1" with a 74-inch reach, 5-0, and obviously 5-0 in his only 5 professional fights. No notable wins or losses for Hokit. Hokit does have a 100% finish rate, 40% of which come by knockout, and 60% of which come by submission. Some notes I have on Hokit here. I have seen him hurt guys on the feet, but that's not really where he wants the fight to be. He wants to wrestle, but I did see him hurt somebody, look like with like a jab, and was able to get the knockout. But yeah, you watch this guy fight, he's not really looking to strike with you all too often. He wants to get the fight to the mat. Pretty solid wrestling. He looks very strong in there. Once he does get on top, he's very heavy, has really good control as well. He got his last opponent into the crucifix position, and unlike Khamzat Chimaev, he actually TKO'd his opponent in that crucifix position in round number 1. And he has some vicious ground and pound. He has a good submission game, and he's finished 3 of his 5 wins by submission. And nobody's been able to stop his wrestling yet. And until then, I don't think he's going to be losing many fights. But yeah, his wrestling, ground and pound, and grappling all look pretty dang good, especially in heavyweight standards, right? And it's not too often. I was thinking about that. It's not too often we see a heavyweight like Hokit in the UFC. He's actually a skilled fighter when the fight hits the mat, right? He's actually has some skill there. He's just not just a big dude. He can wrestle and he can do good things. And his cardio looks good. For a heavyweight especially, he was actually able to get a 3rd round submission in one of his fights. So, yeah, you don't see that too often. He can wrestle, he can grapple, 3-round cardio. Hokit looks to be, pretty solid. And yeah, I think he's decent. He does one thing really well, and I think that's enough to probably beat at least half of the UFC heavyweights just doing one thing well. So yeah, I was impressed with Hokit quite a bit. I think this guy's decent. As far as Uriel is training out of Evolution Combat MMA. Uriel is 28 years old, 6'1". He's 6-1 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Uriel. He has a 100% finish rate, though. Half those coming by knockout, 50%. Half those coming by submission, 50%. Some notes I have on Uriel. He's aggressive and swings with very bad intentions. And I gotta say he's the better striker in this match just because I've seen a lot more striking. And to be fair to Uriel, I think his striking does look, decent. Whereas with Hokit, I haven't seen much striking. So, yeah, I got to say he's the better striker, and I think he's a pretty good striker. And, he's dangerous. He throws a decent amount of kicks, good kicks to the body. I have seen him dropped before, and he is very hittable. He was knocked out in his only loss, and it was a very bad look. And he was eating punches with his face, took some big shots, and got knocked out. He seems to have no regard for his own safety whatsoever in there. And yeah, he's down to brawl as well. He's kind of like your typical heavyweight. He's down to brawl. He's looking to knock you out, and he's looking to knock you out quickly. And he just has really insane pressure and pace. And I always love that, right? I always love when guys bring insane pressure and insane pace. But the thing with Uriel is he can't keep it up. I have major concerns about his cardio. He's looking exhausted in round number 1. And if you are new to watching the sport, the fights are 3 rounds. You can't get tired in round number 1. This guy's gassed at like the end of the first round is where he got knocked out in his only loss. He was gassed. He cannot sustain his own pace, and most guys in the heavyweight division can't sustain a pace like that. So, I think he absolutely needs to keep this fight standing, and he absolutely needs a round 1 finish. If I'm picturing a Uriel win, it's a round 1 knockout. But if he gets taken down, or if this fight gets extended, I think he's going to be in serious trouble. So, final thoughts on this matchup. Uriel is more of your typical heavyweight who I don't think he's that skilled, but he does hit hard. He's down to slug it out. Hokit is actually talented, and he's good in one area, and that area is in the wrestling and the grappling. Hokit should be able to go for takedowns here early and often. Wear on Uriel. He can't go out there and swing dicks early. That would not be wise. That would not be smart because that's kind of giving him his one path to victory. But I have to go Hokit here. I think he has the path here with the wrestling. He's shown cardio in the past. He's shown more than 3 minutes of cardio, unlike Uriel. Give me Hokit to win this fight and win this fight by second round submission. So Hokit is minus 435, and Uriel is sitting as a plus 335 underdog. Like I said, I think if Uriel's winning this fight, he's going to be catching Hokit in the first round. But if he's not doing that, I think Hokit not only wins this fight, but wins it in very spectacular fashion, whether it's a TKO, whether it's a sub, but I think it will be a finish. Up next, we have a pretty solid fight here. Let me pull up my notes for this one. So one thing I want to mention with this fight is we have, I believe this is the first weight miss of the season. So Lewis Lee Scott missed weight. It was like by a couple pounds, I think, and then he tried to weigh in again, and he still was a little bit over. So yeah, we have the first weight miss of the season in this one. We got Lewis Lee Scott versus Kaushik Saikumar. We got Lewis Lee Scott. We'll start with him. He's training out of Manchester Top Team. I believe that's where, is that where Ateba Goudier is doing some work? Manchester Top Team? I think so, but he's 25 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach. He's 9-0, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins for Lewis Lee Scott. Scott has a 78 finish rate, 78% finish rate, 56% of those come by knockout, and 22% of those come by submission. Notes I have on Scott: he starts very quickly and has lots of feints, lots of movement, solid leg kicks, and the very, very fast hands. I like the leg kicks, I like the body kicks, and I also like the aggressiveness he brings in a lot of his fights. The volume is very good, and it's not like this guy Scott is some murderous power puncher by any means, but he does have power in his hands, and he is hurting people, here or there, but I don't think he has like a ton of power, right? So Scott can mix in takedowns. He has solid control, solid grappling, and he's a well-rounded fighter. He's pretty good everywhere. The cardio is pretty good. especially for the way he fights. He puts on a relentless pace, and he doesn't slow down. He can go 15 minutes. He can go 25 minutes. He was able to actually go 25 minutes. I believe his last fight went 25 minutes. Looked fine. No problems there. Good ground and pound once he gets on top. But I was mostly impressed with his control once he gets on top. Once he does get on top of guys, they're typically not getting up. They're kind of just stuck on bottom once he's getting on top of you. So, yeah, I mean, Scott, he can win fights with his striking. He can win fights with his grappling. I love the pace. I love the cardio. He's a good all-around fighter. As far as Kaushik Saikumar is training out of 50-50 Martial Arts Academy. Saikumar is 27 years old, 5'10", 5-0 and 5-0 in his only 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Saikumar. He has an 80% finish rate, 60% of which come by knockout, and 20% of which come by submission. So some notes I have on Saikumar. He's fought some very, very questionable competition, and he's very inexperienced with only 5 professional fights. And he's fairly new to MMA. He started his career recently in 2023, and in my opinion, he just has a lot to prove in here. You know, there isn't a ton of footage out there of this guy. And I do like that he has fought in CFFC, which is a solid promotion. And yeah, I mean, watching this guy, he has some heavy leg kicks. Doesn't have the best volume. Like, I'm watching this guy's fights. It's like, throw something, dude. What are you doing? Let's go. Let's get it going a little bit. And then he's backing up. He's backing up in all of his fights. So he's not throwing much volume. He's doing a lot of backing up. And quite frankly, I'm just not sure his minute winning is going to translate, especially at this level. And, you know, I think he's a fine striker, but, you know, I just don't like the volume, and I don't like the urgency as well. He did land a nasty knee in his last fight that, you know, put his opponent out. But up until then, it's like he wasn't doing much at all. And he has finished 3 of his wins by knockout, but if he's not getting knockouts here, I don't know. I mean, I just don't love the volume out of the guy. So he can be taken down, and it's weird. There was a couple times where, you know, his opponents were, you know, going for takedowns, and it kind of looked like he was willingly going to his back, like he's some BJJ black belt or something, just super confident off his back. And I've actually seen him flop to his back multiple times, which was kind of weird as well. So I guess he's confident in his ground game, but I mean, you can't really do that at this level, especially against Scott here. And I don't know. I mean, I guess he's still young, 27 years old. He's still fairly new to MMA, but I'm just not really sure what they're seeing in this guy. He kind of seems mid at best, and I just think he has a long way to go. I could see him maybe, you know, losing this week and then taking a couple more fights and then maybe coming back in a year or two, but I'm just not sure he's quite ready, you know, as of yet. So final thoughts on this matchup. I'm just not sure what they're really seeing in Saikumar, to be honest. He's inexperienced, and it's not like he's going out there and looking incredible in his fights. Yes, he has some big knees here or there, but, you know, I don't like the volume, the backing up, the flopping to his back. I feel like at this stage of their careers, the better fighter in my mind is Scott, and it really isn't close at all. I see Scott winning this fight wherever it goes. I think he can beat him in the striking, and I think he can absolutely get on top and win minutes with control. So I'm going to take Scott here to win this fight by decision. I could see really any method for Lee Scott here. You know, like I said earlier, he did miss weight, and, you know, that's something that Dana hates. I mean, Dana does not like that. So he's going to have to go out here and win in spectacular fashion to get a contract. But, yeah, I got to go Scott here. I got to go Scott. He's a big favorite, minus 450. And Saikumar is plus 350 there. But I'm taking Scott for the win. For the win. My gosh. Voice is giving out. It was a long weekend, guys. Very long weekend. All right, what do we got here? We got Brandon Holmes going against Cam Rowston. So let's start with Brandon Holmes. Brandon Holmes is training out of TNT Martial Arts and Fitness. He is 28 years old, 6'2", 5-0, and 5-0 in his only 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Holmes. Holmes has a 60% finish rate. No submissions. All of those come by knockout. 60% knockout rate there for Brandon Holmes. So the level of competition is not great at all. He as well, like the dude we just talked about in the last fight, he became a pro in 2023. He's a very big dude. He's 6'2". He's looking a lot bigger than the dudes he's facing. He has some heavy leg kicks. He can be a little bit low volume, but he does have power on the feet, and he has, solid pressure, steady pressure coming forward, and I do like that. He can be a little hittable, but he does show a good chin, and I'd say he does have the power advantage in this matchup. And yeah, he's a solid striker overall. Defensively, I'd say he does leave a little bit to be desired, but the pressure is good. The power's solid. He's not a bad striker by any means. The takedown defense looks solid as well. He's a big, strong guy. He's hard to take down. Nobody's been able to take him down yet. And in a lot of fights I watched, he was, opponents were trying to take him down, pretty much every single fight. The cardio looks, fine. Looks fine to me. And one thing I want to mention for this fight, and I think is important, I didn't see him offensively wrestle at all. I don't believe he attempted even one takedown, and I don't love that for this matchup specifically, because that's kind of Rowston's weakness, which we'll talk about Rowston very shortly. But, he does have the ability to keep the fight standing, and that might come into play here. So I think in this fight, we could see a lot of striking over the course of 15 minutes. But yeah, Holmes, he's decent. He's decent. Fairly new to MMA, being a professional. He does have some amateur fights, but just turned pro not too long ago. As far as Cam Rowston, training out of City Kickboxing. Rowston's 29 years old, 6'2". He's 11-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Notable wins or losses for Rowston. He lost to Jacob Malkoun by decision back in 2017, and then he lost to Torres Finney on Dana White's Contender Series Week 2. So he's fighting Week 2 this year, Week 2 last year, and that loss came by decision, and we'll talk more about that fight. But yeah, he's massive for the division, absolutely massive for the division, but he's actually not going to have a height advantage here. Typically in his fights, especially in the Finney fight, right? I mean, he looked 4 weight classes above Finney. I mean, Finney's like, 5'1", Rowston's 6'2", so it looked ridiculous, but now his opponent's going to kind of be his height there. Very solid striking for Rowston. He's a typical City Kickboxing guy. He's long, he's rangy, uses his kicks to manage distance. He's very kick heavy. He's just a very technical striker, like you'll see a lot of these City Kickboxing guys be. And yeah, he looks very comfortable in there. The striking's solid. I don't think he has a ton of power, but the minute winning ability, the kicks, it's all pretty decent. So with Rowston, he can get takedowns, but I really worry about his takedown defense. I really worry about it. Of course, Malkoun's taking him down, which it is what it is. But, Torres Finney took him down 10 times. It's not good. Getting taken down 10 times, it's not ideal, right? His ground and pound is pretty good when he gets on top. And you go and watch his fights, and it's like he's getting a lot of takedowns. He's not... you don't see a lot of City Kickboxing guys going out there and getting the amount of takedowns he's getting in his fights. Like, he's getting takedowns, he's getting submission. This guy has, multiple submissions on his record. It's kind of crazy. So he's pretty well-rounded, actually, Cam Rowston. But the problem with Rowston is when guys are trying to take him down, that's where he definitely struggles. But in this fight, I don't think that's really going to be, too much of an issue. So he lost to Finney last year, right? And since then he went 3-0, and he actually got 2 submission wins. He got a rear naked choke, and he got a calf slicer. So this guy he's a well-rounded guy. The striking's pretty high level. The offensive wrestling, offensive grappling is good. It's just the takedown defense is very bad and a major concern. And yeah, I like what I see from Rowston, and I think this is a much more favorable matchup for Rowston than it was against Torres Finney. So, final thoughts on this matchup here. Anytime I've seen Rowston struggle, it's when guys are taking him down and holding him down. Outside of that, I haven't really seen him struggle. Outside of that, he's typically in control. He's typically, winning the minutes in the striking, and then he's taking you down. And I haven't seen Holmes attempt one takedown. I watched every fight I could. I haven't seen him attempt one takedown. And I think if anything in this fight, it's going to be Rowston being the one going for takedowns and potentially getting him here. I think these two are very well matched on the feet, but I like the minute winning of Rowston. While the fight's upright, I like the kicks. I think Holmes will probably be landing with more power, but I think it's going to be Rowston landing more volume and also mixing in the occasional takedowns. So I think this is a very well-matched fight, and I think it's by far the most well-matched fight of week number 2 of the Contender Series. But I'm going to go Rowston to win this one and win this fight by decision. I don't know. Is Holmes going to knock out Rowston? I don't think so. And I think it's going to be a very close fight on the feet. The minute winning of Rowston, the power of Holmes. But I also think Rowston can grapple here, believe it or not. I really think he can. So, and then I think Holmes has taken this fight on somewhat short notice as well. Rowston was originally supposed to fight somebody else. So, I'm going to take Rowston here. Give me Rowston to win this fight and Rowston to win by decision. All right, up next, we got the main event. Before we get into it, if you guys have not already, be sure to smash the like button. Get those likes up for me. It's much appreciated. Dana White's Contender Series is always a ton of work, but I enjoy it, and people seem to enjoy the content, so appreciate y'all for watching. We got Jose Delano going against Manuel Exposito. We'll start with Delano. He's training out of Brazilian top team. He's 28 years old, 5'8" with a 70.5-inch reach. Delano is 15-3 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Some notable wins or losses for Delano. He did lose to Gabriel Santos by third-round knockout in 2023. Delano has a 60% finish rate, 27% of which come by knockout, and 33% come by submission. So notes I have on Delano, he has good forward pressure, good combinations, has some really quick hands in there, and he looks very confident. I love the body work of Delano as well. His striking really impressed me. The pressure mixed with the volume is great, and I like that. I like when guys can have some urgency in there, and this guy has urgency for sure. Really solid movement. He's very fluid in there. He's just moving around, and his opponents are looking extremely frustrated. Like every fight I watched of Delano, his opponents just look frustrated in there. Like you can't touch this guy. And he has some very sneaky power as well. Not only are his hands extremely quick, but he's also accurate, and yeah, decent pop in the punches for sure. So Delano is a purple belt in BJJ, pretty good takedown defense, and he looks really hard to take down. And he has an opportunistic submission game. He does prefer to keep the fight standing, but he definitely can grapple. He's well-rounded. The wrestling's decent. He can mix in the occasional takedown. The grappling looks slick. He has solid control as well. And like I said, he was knocked out a few fights ago by Gabriel Santos, who's in the UFC and having some decent success. And in that fight, Santos landed a nasty body shot in the third round to put him down. But up until then, it was a fairly competitive fight. Both guys had their moments type thing. And yeah, he's a well-rounded fighter. I don't really see any holes in his game, and he's pretty dang good everywhere, I'd say. The cardio looks solid. I like the volume. I like the ability that he has to frustrate his opponents, and just seems like a pretty solid, well-rounded guy in Delano. I think he's pretty dang good, to be honest. As far as Exposito, he's training out of Moro, 555 Jiu-Jitsu. He is 25 years old, 5'7", my apologies, 69-inch reach, 13-2 and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. No notable wins or losses for Exposito. He has a 70% finish rate, 23% of his wins come by knockout, 54% of his wins come by submission. Some notes I have on Exposito. He's pretty aggressive. He's looking to come forward, throws hard leg kicks. He can be reckless in there. Relies a lot on his chin and will eat clean shots to the face. And he has been knocked out before as well in 2023. So both these guys have been knocked out before. His striking defense really concerns me. He just doesn't seem to have any regard for his own safety in there, and he does eat punches with his face, which you don't love. He's looking to get the fight down to the mat. He's relentless with the takedowns and with the grappling, and he has a very high level once the fight is on the ground. He's able to get into dominant positions. He's looking for, ground and pound, and the ground and pound's nasty as well. And he's just nonstop. He's nonstop, relentless with everything he does, whether it's the striking, whether it's the grappling. He's a very exciting fighter, and I think it's going to make for a very exciting fight here. His knockout loss, something we have to mention. It was a horrible stoppage, I'd say. It's a bad stoppage. He was hurt. He was dropped. But, the stoppage was bad. They stopped it way too quickly. Once he stopped it, he looked completely fine, completely with it. It was a very bad stoppage. But, he was hurt. This is a great fight. I see why this is the main event. I think this main event is going to be so much better than the main event last week where they didn't even try. These guys are going to try. Absolutely, these guys are going to try. I think it's a good matchup, though, for Delano. I expect Exposito to try to grapple here, and Delano's face that. Delano's been there, done that. Everybody tries to take down Delano, and he's able to have a ton of success, stuffing those takedowns and having a ton of success in those fights in general. Exposito is a fun and exciting fighter, but I worry about his strike and defense and his recklessness. If he isn't consistently getting takedowns here, he's probably going to get pieced up, standing, and potentially even knocked out. Delano isn't a fish out of water on the map by any means, so if he gets taken down, it's not like the end of the world. He's not going to get styled on, nothing like that. Give me Delano to win this fight. I'll say by knockout. I think Exposito is just way too hittable. I think he's going to get hurt at some point. I'm going to take Delano to win this fight and take him to win this fight by like a third round knockout there. There you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys could do me a massive favor on your way out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. If you guys want to support me more or check out more content, check out dfsbythenumbers.com. That's where you'll find all my Dana White's Contender Series content, UFC content as well. We got UFC China coming up this weekend. And yeah, eight more weeks. After this week, 8 more weeks of DWCS. So, yeah, guys, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. Be on the lookout for the Fight Companion on Tuesday. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Best of luck for Dana White's Contender Series week number 2. We'll see you later.